All right, well, more than a week ago, the president caused a stir, not the first time, Rob, when he retweeted a controversial statistic on Twitter. Take a look at this. The tweet from Mel Q says, this week, the CDC quietly updated the COVID numbers to admit that only 6% of the more than 153,000 recorded deaths actually died from COVID. That's 9,210 deaths. The other 94% had 2 or 3 other serious illnesses, and the overwhelming majority were of very advanced aged. End quote. Well, our next guest is here to talk about the reported COVID-19 deaths, as well as his new book titled Fear Unmasked: The Truth Behind the Coronavirus Shutdown. Clay Clark, welcome to the show, Clay.
Thank you for allowing me on your show.
All right, well, this tweet came out from Mel Q, which can be wildly confusing, and the internet kind of went wild on it. There's been multiple comments made on it, but what do you make of this 6% number?
Well, I am surrounded by doctors. I'm a business consultant, and so I've decided to talk to a lot of my doctor friends about this. And what I've been told is that the average person who died with COVID-19 had 2.3 comorbidities, and they were elderly. So chances are we're all going to die at some point. However, the people that died from COVID-19, where COVID-19 is the only thing that killed them, that was 6% of that total death toll we keep looking at. So that means 9,210 people have actually died as a direct result of COVID-19 and nothing else.
It really is something. It was a very interesting thing to read when all this information came out. I think it made a lot of people think twice. Here's what Dr. Fauci had to say about it. Let's take a listen.
That does not mean that someone who has hypertension or diabetes who dies of COVID didn't die of COVID-19. They did. So the numbers that you've been hearing, the 180,000 plus deaths, are real deaths from COVID-19.
What do you make of that, Clay?
Well, we have to decide today as Americans, are we going to listen to Dr. Tony Fauci and his response to COVID-19, or are we going to listen to Stanford's Dr. Scott Atlas, the medical doctor? So Dr. Fauci is very fear-based. He actually said during a Wall Street Journal podcast, we may never shake hands again. Think about that. Now, Dr. Scott Atlas from Stanford has said that on August 15th at the White House press conference, he said that we now know that the risk of the disease of dying of COVID-19 is extremely low for children, even less than that of the seasonal flu. So you have to decide who's lying to you. I'm going to go as far as asking the question, who's lying to you? Because if what Dr. Atlas is saying is true, then what Dr. Fauci is saying is not true. And Dr. Fauci happens to be very close friends with Mr. Bill Gates and is a very pro all roads lead to vaccine kind of guy.
Well, who do you think is telling the truth? You have your book, congratulations on that, by the way, Fear Unmasked, where you really talk about how these headlines are deceptive, and even the government has been deceptive with us. You know, the average person doesn't have time to read through every article and every headline out there. How do you help them decipher what is truth and what isn't?
Well, let's look at this for a second. We originally decided to shut down our country because we thought 2.2 million people would die from COVID-19. It turns out the models were wrong. They were very wrong. They were off by 25 times. And those models were made by the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute, which was funded by Amazon. A lot of people don't know that. And now we found out that the death numbers are wrong. The U.S. military just retracted 600,000. They accidentally told 600,000 people they had COVID-19, and then they retracted that. So if we're looking at the history, the models were wrong, the death counts were wrong, and Dr. Fauci said you shouldn't wear a mask, you should wear a mask, you shouldn't shut down the border, you should shut down the border. And President Trump inherited this guy. He didn't choose this guy. He's been there since 1984. And now Dr. Fauci, who's very good friends with Bill Gates. Bill Gates, I mean, these two are obsessed with the idea of getting a vaccine. I mean, these guys, all roads lead to a vaccine. And I don't think we should be listening to Dr. Fauci or Bill Gates. And Bill Gates freaks me out on a personal level because I have 5 kids. And I would never let my kids hang out with somebody who chooses to spend their downtime with the most prolific pedophile in American history, Mr. Epstein. So I would just say, Bill Gates, good.
Yeah, no, not to cut you off, but do you think that the right answer this whole time was to try and hide the weak and the vulnerable as much as you could, keep grandma at home, let everybody else go about their business wearing a mask, and just not shut anything down?
Well, think about this for a second. If we did that model, which sounds crazy because it's based on logic, if people who wanted to stay home and quarantine because they felt like they were elderly and were at risk, if they decided to stay home, I would gladly have my taxes go up a little bit and deliver them food. I would love to do that. But the idea that you would quarantine and shut down healthy people makes no sense, because if someone's quarantining, would you go door to door and say, I understand you're quarantining. Can I come by and spread the virus to you? No, nobody would go visit people that are choosing to self-quarantine. The idea to quarantine healthy people to help them not spread a virus that's less dangerous than the common flu makes no sense.
Clay, thanks for being here. Appreciate your time. All right, well, we've got a great show for you tomorrow. Paris Denard with Black Voices for Trump will be here, along with Derek Van Orden, a congressional candidate in Wisconsin, plus radio personality Joe Pags and conservative writer David Horowitz will join us as well. That's our show. Greg Kelly Reports is up next with special guest Alan Dershowitz.
And thanks for being a part of our company. We hope to see you tomorrow.
Happy Labor Day.